You didn't start your business to work 24/7. You started for flexibility, freedom, and fulfillment. But if your calendar feels more chaotic than your corporate calendar did, then it's time for a reset. In this episode, I'm sharing 3 practical strategies to help you reclaim your time, cut the clutter, and finally build a business that fits your life, not the other way around. Time freedom isn't a myth. Let's make it your reality, and let's get into the episode. Welcome to the Moms Make Money podcast. I'm your host, Jenny. I'm the owner of Moms Make Money Collective, a podcast and visibility strategist and mom of 2. Many moms feel like we need to sacrifice our careers for our children, but I wholeheartedly believe that we can have a thriving business and family at the same time. In this podcast, we're going to be diving into the ins and outs of running a business as a mom and getting real and raw about all things parenting. So buckle up because we're about to go all in. Hey there, welcome back to Moms Make Money, the podcast for ambitious moms building profitable service-based businesses in part-time hours. I'm your host, Jenny Sunnison, and today we're diving into one of the juiciest myths in the online business world, and that is that time freedom isn't real. You've heard the dream, right? Work 10 hours a week and make 6 figures. But if you're drowning in Slack pings, client calls, school pickups, and snack requests, that version of quote-unquote freedom can feel like a straight-up lie. Today, I want to break down why time freedom is not a myth and share 3 real actionable ways that you can reclaim your work hours starting this week. Let's jump into it. So first up, let's start here. The idea of quote-unquote time freedom often gets misrepresented. It doesn't mean that you never work. It doesn't mean that every single day is a vacation. And it definitely doesn't mean that you never have hard seasons. What it does mean is that you're the one in charge of your time, not your inbox, not your clients, not your kids' daycare schedule, you. Time freedom is about intentionality. And as moms, we are uniquely positioned to understand the value of time because we don't have a lot of it to waste. So if time freedom isn't a fantasy, how do we actually get it? So the first thing that changed the game for me was ditching a rigid hour-by-hour schedule and replacing it with a weekly rhythm. So here's how that looks for me personally. Mondays are spent in admin, planning, all things related to my own business. Then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm doing client calls and client-related work. So, podcast work, client work, etc. Wednesdays are my days where I do deep work, and then I also do podcast interviews these days too for other people's podcasts in the morning if I can't fit it on other days. And then Fridays are my flex days. This is where I'm doing catch-up, content batching, or full rest. It depends on the Friday, honestly. This rhythm gives you a flow to your week without boxing you in. It honors your energy and it truly honors your life. And it keeps you from overbooking yourself just because your calendar technically had space. If you're constantly feeling like your week is chaotic, I want you to start here. Plot out your ideal week, not the Pinterest version, but one that's rooted in reality. What days are your kids home? What times are you most alert? Start there. Now moving on to the second strategy, which is simplify your offers and systems. You don't need 12 different offers to scale your business, and you don't need 10 apps to run your backend. What you need is clarity and simplicity. So when you ask yourself the following questions, which offer of mine is actually bringing in the most revenue and joy? Then I want you to ask yourself, where are things falling through the cracks? And lastly, I want you to ask yourself, what can be automated, delegated, or just straight up deleted? This is where tools like my Time Freedom Toolkit come in, because sometimes the problem isn't you. It's the system that's way too bloated for a mom who only has 15 to 20 hours a week to work. Focus on doing less better. One signature offer, one clear funnel, one repeatable workflow. The third thing is to set boundaries and actually honor them. And this one is a tough love moment because time freedom isn't just about systems, it's about boundaries. You can have the perfect ClickUp board and still feel burned out if you're saying yes to everything and everyone. So here are some boundaries to consider. Number 1, no client calls outside of preset days. I know this can be hard, but honestly, once I started just doing client calls on Tuesdays and Thursdays, it made the world of a difference in my schedule and my productivity as well. Another boundary could be no Slack or email after 3 p.m. So if you are someone with kids in elementary school, like stop answering your emails right up until you're leaving to go get them from school or you're in the car line or even Slacks. It could be 4 p.m. It could be 5, whatever you want to do, just set that boundary. I also would like you to implement a hard stop for work, even if your to-do list isn't done. This is going to depend on whether you have childcare or your kids are in some form of school. You might be working nights and nap time, but I still want you to figure out a hard stop for work. I don't want you to be up working until 1 a.m. just because you have a ton on your plate. Sometimes that can happen, but we don't want that to be your regular schedule. So implement boundaries for a hard stop for work. And then lastly, turn off notifications during your deep work time. These notifications can be super distracting. If you get a text in the middle of doing deep work, you might kind of go to that text instead of continuing your deep work, and it can really throw off your productivity. So make your life easier by turning off these notifications. And listen, boundaries will definitely be tested, especially if you're pivoting from being super available to a more structured schedule. But the more that you stick to them, the more respect you're going to command, not just from your clients, but from yourself, because your time is valuable. You are valuable. So let's quickly recap the 3 strategies for reclaiming your time as a mom entrepreneur. Number 1, design a weekly rhythm that reflects your actual life, not a hustle culture fantasy. Number 2, simplify your offers and systems so that you're not wasting time on complexity that doesn't serve you. And lastly, number 3, set boundaries and actually honor them so that you're working with intention, not reacting to everyone else's urgency. You're not here to run yourself ragged. You're here to build a business that works for your life, not takes it over. So if this episode hit home for you, do me a favor, share it with a mom friend who's in the trenches trying to balance business and babies. And if you're ready to reclaim your time for real, head over to the link in the show notes to check out the Time Freedom Toolkit, which is my low-cost resource to help you map out your 15-hour work week, streamline your systems, and build real momentum without the burnout. Because time freedom isn't a myth, it's a strategy, and you deserve it. Thanks so much for listening to Moms Make Money. Until next time, keep going, keep growing, and remember, you get to do this your way. I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. I really hope you enjoyed it. I'd love it if you would head on over to our free Facebook group called Moms Make Money Collective to connect with us further. If you're more of an Instagram fan, make sure you're following us on Instagram at Moms Make Money Collective. If you're loving the show, make sure to leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcast. Your feedback means the absolute world to us. We'll see you in the next episode.